9 seasons of How I Met Your Mother, the writers asked you to laugh at a man who pretends to be a single father to sleep with nannies, a best friend who secretly sabotages every relationship her supposed bro ever has, a therapist who quits his job specifically so he can date his own patient, and in one infamous episode, the entire main cast dressed up in yellowface and played stereotypical kung fu masters on primetime CBS. Some of these episodes were already getting backlash when they first aired back in the late 2000s. Some got an actual public apology from the showrunners themselves on Twitter with their names attached, and some have only aged worse with time. We're counting down the 10 How I Met Your Mother episodes that would absolutely get canceled in 2026, starting at number 10 with the merely uncomfortable, all the way down to number 1, the episode the creators had to apologize for. Suit up. Let's get into it. Kicking us off at number 10 is an episode called The Front Porch. This is the 17th episode of Season 5, and it first aired on CBS on March 8, 2010. On the surface, this is a friendship episode. Lily, played by Allison Hannigan, sits Ted down and tells him about something she calls the front porch test. It is a sweet little thought experiment about who you can picture growing old with. And then she casually drops the real bombshell. For years, Lily has been deliberately sabotaging Ted's relationships behind his back. She has talked his girlfriends into breaking up with him. She has nudged Ted himself into pulling the trigger on relationships she did not approve of.
Bridges are wild. 4 of a bridge beats a royal bridge.
You see a bridge? They raise you 3 bridges. Bridge! I win!
Lily confessing to Ted at McLaren's that she has been sabotaging his relationships for years, and the gang at McLaren's just laughs it off. This is one of those moments where the show's biggest blind spot becomes really obvious. Lily is the moral center of the group. Lily is the woman the show wants you to love. And the writers genuinely think it is cute that she has been emotionally engineering her best friend's love life like she is playing a game of The Sims. In 2010, this was the meddling friend trope. In 2026, after roughly 15 years of public conversation about boundaries and emotional manipulation, the same plot reads less like Lucy and Ethel and more like a red flag the writers should have caught in the cold open. Ted forgives her in roughly half a scene. No real consequences, no apology arc. Back to McLaren's for another round. That kind of breezy reset just does not work on prime time anymore. The next episode on the list is called Nannies. This is the 3rd episode of Season 7, and it first aired on CBS on October 3, 2011. Marshall and Lily are looking for a nanny for their newborn son, Marvin. The search is genuine. They actually need help, but every promising candidate keeps disappearing on them. Every nanny they bring in either ghosts them or shows up flustered, and it takes Marshall and Lily way too long to figure out why. The reason is Barney.
Monday. Where's Marvin?
Barney explaining his single father scheme, running the ultimate play on nanny candidates in Marshall and Lily's apartment. Barney has discovered that pretending to be a single father is, in his words, the ultimate play. He invents a backstory. He invents a child. He uses Marshall and Lily's actual nanny search as a hunting ground, sleeping with women who showed up at the apartment in good faith looking for a job and a paycheck. This is the part that hits different on a rewatch. Barney is not picking up strangers at a bar. He is sitting in his best friend's living room, looking at women who are there for an interview, and lying to them about being a grieving widower so they will sleep with him. The episode plays this like a wacky caper. Marshall is mildly annoyed. Lily rolls her eyes. Roll credits.
Wait! Hold it! Brainstorm. Nobody quits their job.
Barney calling dibs on the nannies as they arrive at the apartment. In 2011, the audience was supposed to find this funny. In 2026, an episode where the male lead defrauds job applicants into sex by pretending to be a dad is not a Tuesday night CBS comedy plot. It is the cold open of a documentary somebody is going to make about Barney Stinson in 5 years. Coming in at number 8 is an episode called The Window. This is the 10th episode of Season 5, and it aired on CBS on December 7th, 2009. The setup. Ted has been in love, on and off, with a college friend named Maggie Wilkes since their Wesleyan days. The problem is that Maggie is always in a relationship. She finishes one long-term relationship, takes a short break, and immediately ends up in another long-term relationship. Ted has never managed to slip into the gap, so Ted does something completely normal and healthy. He starts surveilling her.
Everyone has that guy or girl who, no matter what happens, you always remember them being the perfect one for you.
Ted getting the call from Mrs. Douglas that the window is open, sprinting to intercept Maggie before anyone else can. He bribes her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Douglas, to call him the moment Maggie is single again. He runs interference whenever a man comes near her. He even arranges Maggie a taxi specifically with a female driver, just to make sure she does not have a 5-minute car ride with another man. And the show is presenting this as romance. This is the thing that makes The Window almost impossible to rewatch in 2026. Ted is the narrator. Ted is the romantic lead. Ted is the dad telling this story with a smile to his kids 20 years later. And the story he is telling them is one where he hired a stakeout on a woman, kept tabs on her relationship status through her neighbor, and tried to control which men she came into contact with on a single car ride. In a 2026 writer's room, the second this got pitched, somebody would say, "Wait, can we hear that again?" And it would die right there. Comment down below if you forgot The Window was even an episode, because honestly, this is the one most fans block out. Number 7 on our list is an episode called The Stinson Missile Crisis. This is the 4th episode of Season 7, and it aired on CBS on October 10th, 2011. In this one, Robin is in court-ordered anger management therapy. Her therapist is a man named Kevin, played by Kal Penn. During their sessions, Robin develops feelings for Kevin. He tries to maintain professional distance for about half a second. Then he caves, formally steps down as her therapist, and starts dating her instead.
And Robin's okay with that.
He's so dreamy. Nobody asked you between.
Kevin telling Robin he is stepping down as her therapist so they can pursue a relationship. The show treats this as a love story. They had chemistry. Kevin did the right thing by stepping down first. So now they can be a couple, no harm done. Except, no. A therapist dating his patient is one of the absolute hardest lines in the profession. The American Psychological Association's Ethical Principles of Psychologists and Code of Conduct, in Standards 10.05 and 10.08, explicitly prohibits sexual relationships between psychologists and current clients and bars relationships with former clients for at least 2 years after treatment ends. Robin and Kevin do not wait 2 years. They do not wait 2 months. They are dating almost immediately, and the show frames the awkwardness as office gossip rather than as the genuine ethical breach it is. In 2011, this was sold as a sweet workplace romance. In 2026, after the broader cultural conversation around therapy, professional boundaries, and the power dynamic between a clinician and someone in crisis, the same plot lands very differently. A 2026 pitch meeting would end with somebody asking, "Wait, he was her therapist?" And the script would be quietly walked back out the door. Number 6 is an episode called The Exploding Meatball Sub. This is the 20th episode of Season 6, and it aired on CBS on April 11th, 2011. The main plot is Marshall quitting his corporate job at Goliath National Bank. That is the part most fans remember. That is the heartwarming Marshall storyline. Lily and Barney reacting as Marshall announces he is quitting GNB. But buried inside this episode is one of the most criticized jokes in the entire run of How I Met Your Mother. In a B story, Ted and Barney are sitting at McLaren's playing a game. They look at a group of attractive women across the bar. And the game they are playing is to figure out which one of them is a transgender woman. The name of the game, as written by the show, is Who's Hot and Who's Scott. Read that one more time. This is not a moment buried in the background. This is 2 of the male leads at the central setting of the show, treating the act of identifying a trans woman as a fun barroom guessing game. The writers built a pun into the title. Somebody pitched it, somebody approved it, somebody filmed it, and it aired on primetime CBS. This is the kind of joke that makes a 2026 audience pause the episode. Trans people are not a punchline, and they are not a guessing game, and a network sitcom that turns identifying a trans woman into a bit played for laughs by 2 heterosexual male leads is contributing to a climate that already has real-world consequences. In 2011, this was a B-story throwaway. In 2026, that B-story does not survive the table read. Number 5 on our list is an episode called The Bracket. This is the 14th episode of Season 3, and it aired on CBS on February 4th, 2008. The premise: someone has been sabotaging Barney's pickup attempts at New York bars all over the city. Barney decides that one of the many women he has wronged is trying to get revenge on him. So to figure out which one, he builds a literal NCAA-style tournament bracket of women he has slept with, lied to, manipulated, or otherwise burned. And his friends help him fill it out. The gang sitting around the apartment filling in Barney's bracket of wronged women, ranking them like a March Madness tournament. Marshall ranks them. Lily participates. Robin participates. The bracket is shown on screen, with the names and faces of the women Barney has hurt. Presented as a friendly office tournament like March Madness. The gang sits around the apartment, calmly working through Barney's history of emotional injury, the way other people work through a fantasy football draft. What the episode never quite lands on is the very obvious thing. The reason any of these women might be angry enough to track Barney down is that he lied to them, deceived them into sleeping with him, and dropped them the next morning. The episode's emotional payoff is Barney feeling bad for about a minute and a half before going right back to it. In 2008, this was just a wacky Barney plot. In 2026, a sitcom where the male lead and his friends sit around at the apartment ranking the women he has emotionally injured on a spreadsheet with bracket logic is not a Tuesday night plot. It is the cold open of a documentary on canceled bro culture. The bracket survived 2008. It would not survive 2026. Number 4 is an episode called Robin 101. This is the 5th episode of Season 6, and it aired on CBS on October 11th, 2010. Barney and Robin are now together, on and off, and Barney has no idea how to actually be a boyfriend. So he goes to Ted, who dated Robin for an entire year, and asks Ted to teach him how to date her. And Ted, as a joke that the show plays completely straight, sets up a literal university-style course.
What do you know about this, Marshall? Why would Barney have a notebook full of information about me?
Ted standing at a chalkboard covered in notes about Robin's psychology and emotional history. Barney sitting at a desk like a student taking the class. There is a syllabus. There is a midterm. There is a final exam. There is a chalkboard full of details about Robin's preferences, her history, her emotional triggers. In 2010, the joke was that nerdy Ted treats everything like a class. Cute. In 2026, this episode reads as something else entirely. What Ted has actually built is a manual, a complete map of the inner emotional workings of a real person, Robin, that he is teaching another man how to use to manage her behavior. He never tells her. She never consents to having her psychology transcribed, mapped, and handed off in a binder so that her boyfriend can get better grades in dating her. And the moment you stop seeing the joke and start seeing what is on the chalkboard, the episode falls apart. This is the pattern across How I Met Your Mother. The premise gets framed as a quirky character trait, and the actual content underneath is something much darker. Robin 101 is 2 grown men sitting in an apartment dissecting a woman who has no idea this conversation is happening, and the show wants you to laugh because Ted is wearing a sweater vest. A 2026 writer's room would either burn that script or rewrite the entire premise as a takedown of pickup artist culture. Robin 101 stays in the syllabus of episodes we do not bring back. Coming in at number 3 on our list is the episode called The Naked Man. This is the 9th episode of Season 4, and it aired on CBS on November 24th, 2008. And the premise is right there in the title. Robin comes home from a date with a man named Mitch. Ted walks into the apartment and finds Mitch sitting on the couch, fully naked, while Robin is in the other room.
Question: what pose will you display your naked man in?
Mitch calmly explaining the naked man technique to a stunned Ted, walking him through exactly how and why it works. Mitch calmly explains that he is performing a maneuver he calls the naked man. The play is simple. He strips while his date is distracted. He waits for her to walk back in, and the hope is that the surprise will pressure her into sleeping with him out of pity, shock, or the awkwardness of the moment. Mitch tells Ted with complete confidence that this works 2 times out of 3, and then by the end of the episode, Ted, Lily, and Barney have all tried it.
Doing it! I'm doing the naked man! That's great! What made you change your mind?
Ted, Lily, and Barney each striking their chosen naked man poses. This is the episode where the rewatch really stops being fun. What Mitch is describing is not a clever seduction tactic. It is an ambush. The whole premise relies on a woman walking into a room and being suddenly confronted with a naked man she did not consent to seeing naked in a situation she cannot easily escape. The show treats this as a wacky lifestyle hack that the gang gets to try out for a couple of laughs each. And the writers of the sequel show actually knew it. When How I Met Your Father premiered on Hulu on January 18, 2022, the very first episode included a scene that referenced this exact bit. The setup is similar. A man ends up unexpectedly naked in front of a woman. But in How I Met Your Father, every single character on screen is mortified. Apologies are made. Nobody plays it as a seduction. That is, on the page, the spin-off's writers admitting that the original premise no longer plays. In 2026, a sitcom built around a guy who strips in front of his unsuspecting date to pressure her into sex is not a wacky mid-season episode. It is a true crime podcast cold open. The naked man does not survive the cut. Number 2 on our list is the one most fans know is going to be on here, The Playbook. This is the 8th episode of Season 5, and it aired on CBS on November 16, 2009. In this episode, Barney is freshly broken up with Robin. To cope, he dusts off a leather-bound book filled with plays. Elaborate name schemes designed to trick women into sleeping with him. And then the episode just walks us through them one after another like a tour. Compilation of Barney running multiple plays from the playbook, including the Lorenzo von Matterhorn and the SNASA. There is the Lorenzo von Matterhorn. Barney builds fake websites for a fake identity so that women Googling him on their phones will think he is a famous, successful man. There is the SNASA. Barney tells women he is an astronaut for a secret branch of NASA, working on a secret moon called the Smoon. And Robin, watching this, calls any woman who falls for it, in her own words, a smoron. There is the missus. Stinsfire, where, according to the published companion book, The Playbook by Matt Kuhn, released by Simon & Schuster in 2010, Barney disguises himself as an elderly woman, gets hired as a sorority house mother, and uses the position to get access to the residence. There is the He's Not Coming. Barney stands on the observation deck of the Empire State Building and tells random women that their boyfriends are not coming, until one of them breaks down emotionally and falls into his arms. And here's the moment of the episode the show really wants you to miss. Robin, watching Barney walk through this entire catalog of cons, looks straight at Lily and Ted and says, "If these girls are dumb enough to fall for this crap, they have it coming." That line is the whole problem with How I Met Your Mother in one sentence. The show built an entire character around a man whose central activity is deceiving women into sex, and then handed the moral defense of that character to the women in the cast. Robin defends him. Lily defends him. The audience laughs, and the writer's room signs off on it. The playbook is the spine of the entire Barney character. And yet, watched cold in 2026, it is also a 22-minute instructional video on how to lie a woman into bed. That script does not come back. And that brings us to number 1. The number 1 How I Met Your Mother episode that would absolutely, unquestionably get canceled in 2026 is Slapsgiving 3, Slappointment in Slap Mara. This is the 14th episode of Season 9, and it aired on CBS on January 13th, 2014. On paper, it is a slap-bet episode. Marshall is preparing to deliver his next slap to Barney, and he explains, in a long flashback, how he supposedly traveled the world to study under 3 masters of the slap so that he could deliver the perfect, devastating blow. He calls it the slap of a million exploding suns.
You teach me accuracy.
I can. The proper question is, will I? Grammar is the first step.
Kobe Smulders, Allison Hannigan, and Josh Radnor in yellowface costumes and exaggerated accents portraying the 3 Asian kung fu masters in Marshall's training flashback. Here's the problem. Those 3 masters are played by Kobe Smulders, Allison Hannigan, and Josh Radnor, 3 of the white main cast members. Dressed in costumes meant to evoke a stereotypical Asian kung fu mystic mentor image. The episode leans on broken accents, it leans on exaggerated mannerisms, and according to the Time magazine article by Jenny Ahn, titled Dear How I Met Your Mother, Asian is not a costume, published on January 17, 2014, the episode used the Fu Manchu mustache and other long-standing yellowface tropes that have been criticized in American media for over a century, and the audience reaction was immediate. According to that same article, the hashtag HowIMetYourRacism began trending on Twitter while the episode was still airing. Asian American viewers, fans of the show, and critics called the episode out in real time. Marshall delivering the slap of a million exploding suns to Barney at the end of the episode. 2 days later, series co-creator Carter Bays posted a series of apology tweets. In his own words, the show had set out to make, quote, a silly and unabashedly immature homage to kung fu movies, a genre we've always loved. He added, quote, we try to make a show that's universal, that anyone can watch and enjoy. We fell short of that this week and feel terrible about it. His co-creator Craig Thomas followed up shortly after, saying he seconded everything Bays had said and apologizing to fans who were offended. That is the smoking gun. This is not a case where fans in 2026 are looking back and deciding an old episode is problematic. This is a case where the show's own creators, in real time, on the record, in writing, said we got this wrong. A November 19th, 2025 Collider retrospective by Jacob Frommer called Slapsgiving 3 the show's worst, most controversial episode ever. and pointed out that the white main cast was acting out stereotypical Chinese roles in front of Asian background actors who were used as little more than set dressing. In 2014, the episode survived. The series even finished its run 2 months later, on March 31st, 2014. In 2026, this episode does not get pitched. It does not get written. And if somehow it did make it to a table read, the table read is where it would die. Yellowface is not a 2014 controversy that we have moved past. It is the textbook reason these episodes sitting quietly on Hulu and Disney Plus would not be greenlit today. Slapsgiving 3 is the line in the sand, and it is exactly the kind of episode this list was built to count down to. The show is not dead, but these episodes are. Which one of these did you forget existed? Which one made you pause the episode on the rewatch and just sit there for a second? Drop it in the comments. I want to read every single one. And if you enjoyed this countdown, hit the like button, subscribe so you do not miss the next one.